It's great to be here. I've wanted to do Techonomy for several years, so I'm thrilled to get the chance to dialogue.
And we are thrilled to have you. So we're going to start this conversation. I'm going to let you know I'm a 43-year Bank of America customer. Opened my first savings account when I was 7 years old in San Jose, where my mom still has an account. So B of A is near and dear to my heart, and it's a particular pleasure for me to interview you here today.
That's great. Well, I'm a 38-year Bank of America employee, so I don't know how those two things compare, but I'm a little afraid you win.
Well, that's a combined, I think, 80-something years of Bank of America experience, both inside and outside the bank. So we got a lot to talk about. And first, as an out and proud man, let me also just quickly thank you for your work in the LGBT and ally community. I know Financial Times ranked you the #1 executive for LGBT on the executive side. So thank you and congratulations for that quickly.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I always, like to start with, just name, rank, and serial number, but I know you do a lot of things in your role, but just for our audience, give us a brief day in the life in your role as the Chief Operations and Technology Officer at Bank of America.
Sure. Well, you just stated my title. That means at Bank of America, I run a team of about 95,000 people in 35 countries. Everything from the things people love to talk about, like cyber and data, to the mundane, but nonetheless challenging and important work that we do in operations to, for example, process checks or to move wires and move money. So no 2 days are alike. And I find that, especially in an environment like this, balancing the fighting the fire of the day with the keeping the strategic direction in an important space like technology to be something really to be paid attention to.
Indeed. And, one thing you didn't mention about your resume, and I know we're going to talk about resilience today. A few years ago, you summited Mount Kilimanjaro. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. But let's be clear. I am one and done on mountain summit. I did it, but it's not going to happen again. It was a life-changing experience that I highly recommend it.
It must have been, and I'm sure it did teach you a lot about resilience. But well, let's jump in and talk a little bit about that. I recently interviewed yesterday the Chief Digital and Information Officer at Aflac, and we were talking. I always like to start with just talk to us about the last 7 or 8 months and how you have led and managed through the crisis and the bank has. And I know Rich Gilbert talked a little bit about and said, for us, yes, we're accelerating digital business transformation now, but in the beginning, it was about operational stability. And what a massive task for you all at the bank. But talk to us about how the last 7 or 8 months has been, and maybe just what you've learned and the process of working through COVID and managing your teams and leading.
Sure. Well, there's no question that it's been a journey. It began with the surreal and the difficult to process, and the fact that literally within the space of 2 weeks, we had 185,000 people at Bank of America go from working in an office to working remotely or working from home. The use of the word working is really important because the most fundamental thing to us about operational stability was that we continue to function. So the basics of connectivity, but also the basics of serving clients and customers. And, I never these days talk about going back to work. I talk about changing the place that we work. And so operational stability first. Second, capacity to serve our clients and customers. Digital access to the company grew immensely. We were very pleased. And, our digital transformation is not something we cooked up 3 years ago. We've been investing heavily since 2010, even started on our cloud journey in 2012. And so the net sum of our ability to perform in the last several months is the result of years of preparation. The third thing I think is a huge focus on a little bit different twist from the last conversation, which is the health and wellness of our people directly contributes and is related to their ability to do the extraordinary work that this has demanded of them. And with the likely prospects that it will continue to demand of them, a huge effort to pay attention to mental health and physical well-being so that people can fully sustain what it will take to continue to take great care of clients and customers. So that's kind of it. Operations, then digital, and then health and well-being of our people.
Indeed. And, as we look ahead, and we're certainly not out of the crisis, and hopefully we do return to some kind of a new normal in 2021, what parts of sort of work culture and the new normal of the future of work, we now certainly have a lot of time to talk about the future of work thanks to COVID. What changes might be, sort of permanent? I know we had a lot of the Silicon Valley executives say you never have to work, in the office ever again, which I think goes a little bit against human nature personally. But is it broken down by group? Like maybe engineers and technologists may not have to come in as office, and maybe marketing people will. Certainly, people in the branch will. But what changes might be permanent as you look ahead?
Well, we're a company that believes in the power of co-location. We believe that our outcomes are better. We're more capable of building a culture that creativity is enhanced with interaction, even something as simple as what happens before a meeting or after a meeting, or the ability to brainstorm without waiting 5 seconds for the words to catch up with the thought. And we believe our culture of innovation, while we've done a really, really good job this year, more patents at this point in the year than we've ever had before, which is great, 275. But we believe all of those outcomes are better in a co-located environment. Now, we're not going to be co-located again tomorrow, and the way work happens will look very different. I was very intrigued by the school composition and the design of ethics and safety, or really ethics and safety by design versus as an overlay at some point. And that's how we're going to have to think about the workplace. So we're bringing our people back when our community and health environments are safe, safety first, redesigning the workspace to promote safety, and then really keeping the energy and keeping our people confident so that that co-location can produce all the benefits that it really, for us, does produce.
Yeah, and I know we wanted to also talk about, in the middle of this crisis, and even thinking ahead, how companies balance innovation and resilience at a time like this. And then also adding in what you just said in terms of ensuring the health and well-being of your associates and your team members. How do you strike that balance when, it's a great time to innovate, but you're concerned about your associates and your staff, and of course your customers as well. But how does that sort of break down across technology and talent and the health and well-being of your staff?
The simple way I'd sum it up is necessity is in fact the mother of invention.
Indeed.
So as our clients have called on us in new ways, keeping up with their demand and in fact being ahead of it has required real-time innovation. How we have dealt with connectivity and safety and information security and data protection in a work from home environment has required a substantial amount of innovation, and quite a bit of our patent work this year has been in the area of innovation security. But human nature is a beautiful thing. It really is. It is a human's nature to want to survive, but also to prosper and grow. And I don't mean prosper economically, I mean from a creative and a developmental perspective. And our people have been hungry to innovate. We've seen great performance, more creativity than ever. And we look forward to leveraging that kind of momentum when we're all co-located again.
Right. And, we wanted to talk a little bit about diversity and technology and things like that, but I want to take one step back. And as you look to the teams of the future, and whether it's at Bank of America or just sort of offering your thoughts on best practices around hiring and talent, given, this crisis and sort of your vision of where we end up in a new normal, what will you look for in regards to employees that you're looking to hire, whether they're managers or even talking with your managers about the teams that they're hiring? Are you going to look for, more, someone who also scaled the summit somewhere? And, what are you going to look for in regards to talent and skill and the types of employees that you want to bring into Bank of America? So what's your philosophy in regards to talent moving forward?
Well, first of all, this environment has taught us some very important things. Number one, we can in fact source and hire most of our jobs internally. Prior to the pandemic environment, we filled about 39% of our jobs internally. Today, that number is over 85%.
Wow.
And the reason that that's important is there's all kinds of societal swirl about, can the worker of today actually be the worker of tomorrow? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. We don't have a lack of talent. We have reskilling and retraining to do to prepare today's worker for the jobs of tomorrow. So first of all, it's possible to do that. We're proving that now. Second of all, we will continue to beef up our resources. We had 80,000 people, or 80,000 separate courses, I think, taken last year in what we call Technology and Operations University. So a lot of intellectual curiosity and thirst for learning. And the content provision there really enables that internal hiring to occur. And then you started with diversity. There is no question that the STEM disciplines need to be more diverse, and all aspects of diversity. The issue for us, and I think any company worth its salt, the issue is not having a pipeline of diverse talent. The issue is how to promote and advance it in modern ways that ensure when we fill those internal jobs that we fill them naturally, but with specific accountable effort to change literally the face, but the composition of the workforce. So, I believe in practical execution. So, requiring diverse slates, no kidding, every single time. Ensuring that nobody gets to hire or gets to get to a final round of interviews. Don't tell me what's on the slate, tell me what you did with it. And I just think this is setting objectives, driving accountability, creating metrics, and then ensuring that the business problems line up for that. We've got to be a lot more urgent about it than we have in the past. We have to build on the incredibly powerful dialogues that have started in the United States and around the world. But I believe we can do that. And I don't believe we have a pipeline problem. I believe we have to work on the structures to advance the pipeline we've got.
Right. No, I agree. And, in both in terms of being able to recruit and hire more diverse talent, but also just in regards to the more broad talent question. I was actually having a conversation with Karna Crawford, who's a good friend of mine. She's the U.S. head of consumer media at Verizon. And she was talking about, look, we all want to be back in the office someday, and co-location's a priority, but she also sees this as a unique opportunity to expand her talent pool in terms of, because if you're looking for technology and operations people, or particularly tech folks, maybe the job description, it's always based in either New York or maybe Silicon Valley or Charlotte or something. But does this also provide you a new opportunity where maybe you don't have to be in Charlotte or in New York or in Silicon Valley to take on this great role at Bank of America? Do you see it as maybe expanding the talent pool as well?
I do, absolutely. I disconnect now. I wouldn't have ever thought this to be true, but I disconnect the concept of place and the concept of co-location.
Right.
Co-location for us could mean 3 technologists in a financial center where we've got space, but that can be part of the financial center team, yet connect remotely with their technology teammates as well. So we have a whole new lens, I believe, as in industry as a whole, in this concept of place and co-location. They don't have to be one in the same thing. The other thing is, it does give us a way to bring people into the company from a wider geography than we might have done otherwise, which will teach us about where our locations of the future have to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we were having a similar conversation about Silicon Valley and sort of the state of Silicon Valley. And someone say, well, everyone's going to move out. And I said, well, the best companies in Silicon Valley may now be able to hire, people don't have to come to Silicon Valley and buy an expensive house, and they don't have to pay them $300,000 and all that. And so it's going to be interesting to see from my perspective. I definitely want to talk a little bit about innovation while we have you here. And Bank of America has certainly been innovating. I actually ran a conference called App Nation, which I started back in 2009, and looking at Fortune 500s and Global 2000s with their first apps and the importance of the app. And as a customer, the app is fantastic. How do you manage, what's your innovation management process there? Particularly when you're driving innovation at such huge scale. What are your top line sort of philosophies and best practices around innovation management?
So I think it starts with our strategy, our philosophical belief about innovation. Innovation is not theoretical. Innovation for us has to be applied. It has to relate to the betterment of something that betters or has benefits for clients and customers, or benefits internally to the company. We are not a company that has the philosophy that says beautiful technology is an end unto itself. So right. Applied innovation. Second thing is a belief, a deep belief that the people who are closest to the actual experience, whether it's the experience of their teammates or clients and customers, can be the best innovators. So it isn't a scientific way of innovation, it's the requirement that innovation happen as close as possible to the beneficiary. So no innovation labs, no special SWAT innovation team, a deep embedding of the innovation, and we measure it. Again, you'll see a consistent theme with me: set a goal to be innovative and to be known for innovation. That's more important, but innovation for clients, customers, and then measure and reward against that innovation. We do all the things that Silicon Valley organizations do. We run a DevCon, more than one every year. We do, we do crowdsourcing, but we use our internal crowd. So we use all the innovative techniques, but it starts with why, customers and clients, and then who, everybody.
Right. In regards to sort of more the open innovation, and I know you don't, I did a conferences for about a year and a half just focused on open innovation. We talked to a lot of companies that have labs and innovation centers and SWAT teams and things like that. And while you may not have those things, you do have, I have had long chats with Tom Mildenhall out in the Bay Area, who's out there scouting, working with startups, working with academics. How do you bring in open innovation into that overall sort of innovation process? And I guess I'm particularly interested in how you manage the open innovation process, because it's very easy to get caught up in, these cool new technologies, and let's talk to young engineers at Stanford, and let's all that stuff. But how do you make it really worthwhile so it actually turns into a real world product that drives real world bottom line? Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things about innovation is we believe that our lines of business are the frontline units of innovation. And it's not simply technology. It is the frontline units and we have a very iterative, very disciplined process. We report to our board multiple times a year on success or challenges in innovation. So disciplined integration across the firm. And then teams like Tom's, the one you just mentioned, have their job is to understand emerging technologies, understand emerging firms in the technology space, and to figure out where sometimes working with a third party can accelerate innovation as well. The open innovation concept has got to produce results, which is really what you're saying. And we've been really pleased. Of our patent holders, 29% of them are women. That's double a normal inventor pool. We've got people in 12 countries doing that that have been successful as inventors in the patent process. So going for geographic diversity. It can be cliche to say innovation is everyone's job. And I don't mean to sound like that's what I'm purporting, but I do mean to sound like it is a broad-based effort with discipline, with specialization where we need it, i.e. emerging technologies and third parties, and then reward, celebration, recognition, the things that are real motivators to people. I love technologists. I love technologists. The natural DNA of a technologist is to create an opportunity or to solve a problem.
Right, indeed.
So causing the innovation is never the issue. Channeling it for its application is the goal.
Well, and a lot of these companies get caught in innovation theater, to be sure, and having those clear metrics behind it is really critical. As we wrap up here, I kind of wanted to say, what does the bank of the future look like? There was a question that sort of popped in there about PayPal and market caps and things like that, and you know, the Venmos of the world, you know, and you know, you also have some old world sort of, you know, organic physical things. You process 6 billion checks a year, I still believe. Is that correct? I mean, it's, you know, amazing. But with all this tech innovation, you know, but still the more mundane, but just how a bank works, maybe people still want to go to branches. But what's your vision of the bank of the future?
I would state it very simply: high tech and high touch. There is no question, research and experiential evidence that our customers want both. They want to access us digitally, and they want to be able to access everything we do on their phone or in their pocket. They also, for some of the other functions that really require deep dialogue, investments, mortgage lending, capital for larger businesses, they want and demand really a high touch process. The other thing is we have to use technology to enable that high touch process. Right. I promise you, if one of our investment bankers walked into a room and had a paper presentation, they'd be laughed out of the room these days. Right. And so making sure they can deliver is really important as well. But we don't see a demise of the physical space. In fact, we're expanding in new markets with new financial centers this year. I don't remember the exact number, something like 60 new financial centers this year.
Wow. So
we're very optimistic about that intersection of place and technology.
That's great. And before I let you go, I know Josh has popped on here, which means he's given me the hook, but you know, I always do like to ask, how do you stay informed? And, you know, we all, you know, Wall Street Journal and other, you know, any good nuggets out there, maybe some blogs or newsletters or things that might be a little bit more obscure, but you find really good to keep you up to date in all things sort of tech and innovation and maybe even fintech specifically.
So it all depends if you want the truth, Drew. So I'm going to give you the truth. The truth is I am a voracious reader. But really my keys to keeping up are two things: deep relationships across the technology industry, yep. CEOs of large and small companies, to really understand what's going on. So interaction and relationships. The second thing is I have a great team, and really practically every morning I get up and I have the top 20 things people think I should look at in my inbox, and I look at them. And so I do the best I can on my own, but it's relationships. And then I have a great team that really helps me keep informed every single day.
That's great. Well, Cathy, I could talk to you for another hour. And thanks so much for joining us. And I hope we can have you at a Techonomy or CDX conference in person sometime next year, and that we'll get the opportunity to meet.
I would love that, Drew. I really appreciate the conversation and the chance to be here. These are important topics.
My pleasure. Thanks again.